Welcome, everybody, to Trainwrecked Comic Fandom for Life. This is an adults-only channel. I am your host, Joe Vitzen. I'm an aspiring comic book writer, digital inker, and almost a 40-year fan of what we know as comic books. And today, I hope everyone is doing great on this Monday. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the real world as well as on social media today concerning Comicsgate and War Campaign. I associate with both of these groups. Comicsgate is a consumer movement who believes in putting out good comics that just tell great stories with great art, a lot of adventure, many different genres. War Campaign is kind of like a subgroup of fans within Comicsgate itself. Today, I had to mow the yard. I hate mowing the yard, honestly. But where we're renting, I don't want the landlords to get mad, so I had to be out there today doing that. And then when I came in, I said, hey, I'm going to do a stream, I think, today, kind of showing off some stuff for my upcoming project. But I said, first, I got to jump in the shower. So I had a nice, hot, sensual shower. I took care of myself. I got myself nice and clean because I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want no odors coming through the internet, hitting you in the face. That would be bad. I don't want that. So I took a nice shower, got myself kind of dressed, and here I am now, broadcasting. And I really don't want to talk about like the drama that's going on in the real world. That's some really heavy issues going on, and there's even stuff going on within Comicsgate, but that's not what this stream about. The stream is me kind of pimping my upcoming project. And as a new writer and as someone who's new to really doing a lot of broadcasting or anything on YouTube or working the magic over on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any other of those social media outlets, so bear with me. Sometimes I get a little flustered, I get a little nervous. I got some mental health issues, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this project. And here's my thing is, like, I don't have a working title yet for this project. I know how it's going to be. It's going to be a 3-story kind of anthology. And all 3 stories contain what I consider my version of the devil. And you might say, well, why are you putting why are you putting devil in a comic book or whatever? And I'm really fascinated by, books, like stories, movies, about people who make deals with the devil, and I'm sure anybody watching this has probably seen a movie or read a book or even a comic book that addresses this. And it always seems to be adult characters that meet whatever version of the devil, and they make their deal, and the story goes on from there. And I thought, well, what would it be like if the devil put himself in the path of a young adult, say someone who's 12 to 16 years old? How would he approach these individuals? How would they interact with the devil? Would they even know that they're dealing with the devil? Because I don't think the devil would announce who he is. I think, the Lord of Lies and Deceptions, he would kind of keep things kind of hush hush. Wouldn't sit there and really broadcast or, put out who he is to these characters, because he wants these characters to make a deal. Now, right now I have the first story with 14 pages, which is called Milo's Folly. I have a wonderful artist working on the book. His name is Jason Johnson. He's done work within the Comicsgate community. He's done several covers for your boy Zach Rich Myers. He did a cover for The Expendables Go to Hell, and he did a cover for Pandemic. And then he also did a 10-page side quest story in the Expendables book. Both of these are available on Indiegogo. Just type in Pandemic or Expendables Go to Hell and it'll come up, and they're still in demand, so you can definitely buy these books. I've supported the campaigns, and I can't wait to see these books when they come out. So these young adults, are interacting with this kid, the devil character, and they're they're dealing with real problems. That's what I wanted. It wasn't about like, oh, I'm going to put out these young adults that oh, they want like what the adults want. They want fame, they want fortune, they want power, or whatever. It's like I kind of stepped back from that and said, no, I want these characters to have real problems that any young adult could have. Um, and they want these problems solved, and they run across this character who's charming, listens to them, kind of coaxes them in a certain direction, and they end up kind of making a deal without knowing they made a deal. And the deal is kind of like the story of the monkey's paw. You wish for $1 million, but when you get that $1 million, you find out, oh, well, a family member died, and the $1 million was from their insurance policy. I wanted that little catch, and I wanted it to run through all three stories. I have the ideas kind of in my mind what the next two stories are going to be. They're going to be different characters in each story, but the devil is going to be, of course, the consistent character that appears across all three. And like I said, I was blessed to get, I consider him kind of an internet friend. I've never met him in real life, but I've interacted with him over the years a few times. Jason Johnson, I think he's a phenomenal artist, not only with the stuff that he's done in Comicsgate, but working at Image and Marvel and DC, he's put out some fabulous artwork, and I've just always loved him. So it was really, I feel really blessed to have him on board with this first story. I also have Ian Hanning, who is a colorist that I know from his work from basically back in the Image days. He worked within Image, within Wildstorm, as well as he also did work for Brian Heberlin's Avalon Studios. He also joined two other colorists, and they became, known as Badass. And they worked with artists like, he's worked with artists like Chris Bacallo, Jason Johnson, Jay Anacleto, and many others. So Humberto Ramos, I loved their work on Humberto Ramos's Cliffhanger book, Crimson. It was very beautiful, which Humberto Ramos drew. I think Sandra Hope inked, and then Badass colored. So, if you ever want some good books and some interesting colors, go back into the 90s, go back in time and pick up books like Crimson and Steampunk by Chris Bacallo. I know he did a couple of Aria books like Aria and Angela, which is a character that was Todd McFarlane's. I don't know if she's still Todd McFarlane's. I've seen her appear in Marvel books. But anyways, what I wanted to show you is I want to show you some of the art from the first arc, the first story, which is, like I said, Milo's Folly. And so let me go in here and I'll share my screen, and we'll take a peek at some artwork. Maybe. Let's see here. I don't know if that's working. Share my screen. Let's go here. Share my screen. There we go. Tires. You gotta excuse me. I'm new to working with this stuff, so I mess up sometimes. So please forgive me for that. So, anyways, here's one of the first pieces I've showed. I showed it on another stream. This was just a commission that I got from Jason. I told him the idea of what I had in mind for this devil character, and kind of explained what I wanted. And this is what Jason gave me, and this is exactly what I wanted. And then, like I said, these colors are Ian Hannon's colors. And I'll just let you take a slow look at this. I really love the way they work together. I think there's no other colorist I could have found that really complements Jason's work like Ian does. And I'm going to have to chastise Ian because he didn't sign his name to the piece, but that's okay. yeah, so that's the devil character. And then I don't know if I've shown any of these, so you might be the first people seeing this. These are some pages that Jason has turned in already. Jason's this piece right here was drawn traditionally, and when I do my Indiegogo campaign, I might offer up the original artwork as part of one of the tiers. I'm not sure yet because I just love the way the piece came out, and I don't know if I can part with it. But and the funny thing is like I told Jason, is like I want him sitting on a bunch of toys, and that kind of represents the innocence of the characters that he's going after. Um, I don't want to call him like a predator or anything like that, but I guess that's what the devil would be. Yeah, adult souls are great, but to get younger souls of those who are still innocent to so much of the trials and tribulations we face in our lives, I think that's what really appeals to the devil. That's the souls that he wants. So that's kind of the representation of what the toys mean. He's going after those he considers innocent because those souls have more value to him. They're sweeter to him. They're far more precious to him, if you will, than what somebody who's like 30 or 40 or like me, almost 50. So let's take a look at page 1. This is page 1 of the book. Like I said, this is all digital. This is Milo as an old man sitting in a room, kind of writing. He's typing out his story. He's actually, putting his story to paper so that if anyone finds it, they know what's happened to him, what he's been through, and to be wary of this being that is the devil. So, and I think I think Jason really hit the mood very well with the piece. I wanted like some tattered wallpaper here. The only lighting in the room is from these 2 lamps here. And then I wanted like papers and stuff strewn around and things like that. And Jason just did a great job. I think Jason also knows that I kind of like a little bit more exaggeration to the artwork. He used to do back, if you know Jason's work from like Wetworks or Gen 13 Interactive or whatever, he had a very kind of animated style to him that was a really good hybrid, I think, of what was thought as American comic book art and kind of like a style of animation. So things were a little bit more exaggerated. He doesn't do that so much now, but I think he's doing it a little bit more in this project than I've seen him do in other projects. So Milo is an old man writing his story down. Page 2, we jump to Milo when he was about 12 years old. Grew up in a rural community, walking along a road or a path on a nice warm spring day, beautiful, no clouds in the sky, just a wonderful setting. But we can see that there's stuff that's weighing on Milo, and I think Jason does a great job of catching that in his facial expressions. Right, it's definitely right here on this face. You can see it's like he's troubled. He's troubled by something. I'm not going to tell you by what. I'm not going to give the whole story away. I just want to give you a peek. I want to pique your curiosity, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So, and like I said, this is all digital. So there's trees and nice path and a fence and bushes and Milo, and you can tell by Milo's clothing, this he's not from a well-off family. I grew up in a rural setting. I grew up not with a father and not having a lot of money, so I kind of put myself a little bit into Milo. Of like, it's like I know what it is like growing up in a rural community or a rural setting and not having money to buy good things, nice clothes, good food all the time, things like that. But of course, this takes place before I was born. This is roughly the 1950s. But the way Jason draws the piece, it's almost kind of timeless. You can almost see somebody still dressed like this today, in rural America. So it's really cool. It takes place back in time, but yet could be present. So I like that. And here's Milo on his walk, and boom, along among the trees is this tall, dark figure. As Milo gets closer, we see the features of the devil character, or my devil character. And the thing with what I told Jason is like, or Jason actually kind of brought this up too. It's like, let's make him look kind of normal, but as things play out, his devilish features and nature is going to kind of come out more. And I really like that, because it starts off with just like, this strange guy, this stranger hanging out by this tree, getting some shade. Maybe, it's a hot, nice spring day, and, as you look at him, you can tell as they're interacting, he's kind of, the devilish aspect of him is coming out, and then I love this texturing and stuff like that Jason used in the background. I don't know if that's like a photo used for texture, or if that's maybe a custom brush, but really nice, and Milo's kind of taken aback because, it's not great to talk to strangers, even, back in the 1950s, even though we were more trusting back then, it's still, you got to be careful around strangers. And then the last page I'm going to show you is just, once again, this is where Milo kind of gets to start knowing about this character. This character is kind of introducing himself to Milo in a subtle way. He doesn't say, "Oh, hey, I'm the devil," but, he's like, "Oh, yeah," he's like, and tell me your problems. And that's what's illustrated on these pages. And then we had clear blue skies, but as they're interacting, we start seeing clouds coming in, and that's to set the mood that something's going on right now, and things are kind of tense and getting kind of murky in a way, and Jason does that by bringing in clouds. So I really love how these pages came out. I think Jason did a beautiful job. Ian right now is in the process of moving, so he hasn't really been able to sit down and focus a lot on coloring yet. But hopefully within this week or next week, he'll start coloring the actual pages of the book. And then Jason has shown me layouts of pages 5 and 6, and then after that, we'll be cruising out the halfway point for the first story, and then hopefully within the next month or so, I'll have the first 14 pages of the story done, at least from Jason's side. And then I don't know how long Ian's going to take, and then of course there's going to be lettering. I don't know. My question to anybody who watches this, and the funny thing is, people have posted comments on my video, and I get notifications of the comments, but when I actually come to the videos, I can't see them. So I don't know. I would like people to leave a comment, because I'm kind of asking for people's opinion on this. Okay, I'm looking to crowdfund this book through Indiegogo, like I said. And Jason and Ian are probably only going to do the first story. The other two stories, I'm going to have to find another artist, or I want to find. I don't have to find. Jason's not wanting to leave the project. I just thought it would be really great that each story had a new character as well as a new art team. and I think it's really fun to see how other people will interpret what I write and the devil character as we go on to these other two stories. So I'll be looking through the Comicsgate community to find an artist and a colorist, and then I have a few ideas of who I want to letter the book. I just have to reach out to them, and then I got to sit down and actually say, okay, what's the title of this book going to be? You know, like I said, it's like I've thought of things like, loss of innocence, the devil's in the deal, which is kind of like the play on the devil's in the details, um, devilish tales. I don't know yet. I want to think of something that's really, really like grabs people's attention, and then I got to find somebody who can do the logo for the title, and then we move on forward. But my question is to the people who may watch this is, there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to crowdfunding. Some people believe that you should have everything done, everything completed, like all the artwork, the art's done, it's colored, it's lettered, it's ready to go. You've talked to printers and you figured out how you're going to fulfill and all this other stuff, and you have all this stuff kind of done. Other people, they launch, maybe with X amount of pages done. I mean, I've seen books that the campaigns have launched when they've only had five pages of art done. So I don't know, because right now I figure these stories are probably going to be about 14 to 16 pages each. So that's going to put me in like the 42 to 48 page range, which I want 48 pages. I want the book to be, I want the artwork to kind of be similar through the stories, even though I'm getting different artists. It's like, I don't want it to be like a big shock. Like, okay, I read this story, like, oh wow, everything looks so different in this story. That might be a good thing, though. I don't know. So I was thinking, once I get the 14 pages from Jason, the 14 pages are colored by Ian, and I found a letterer, and I've had somebody I've come up with a title and create the title. I've been thinking about maybe that's when I want to go on Indiegogo and launch the campaign. I've looked at printer prices, so I kind of have an idea of what things cost, like in a general sense. I'll have to dig a little bit deeper because I want this book. I mean, I want this book to be beautiful. It's like when something is yours, you want it to be nothing but quality. You want, thick paper. You want a nice glossy look a nice shine or gloss to the paper, maybe, or maybe you want a matte finish. And then the total package, how is it? Is it perfect bound so it has a spine? Are you looking at doing what kind of cover you want? You want a chromium cover? What do you want to do? There's all these options. And the great thing is Jason's kind of fitting me in his schedule, as well as Ian's kind of fitting me in his schedule. And I like that because it gives me time to kind of mill over what I want to do. But I'm going to ask you, anybody who watches this video, this stream, I don't know how many people watch them. I don't know. I don't have a big following, but it is what it is. I'm going to ask you. It's like, what kind of ideas do you have? What kind of book would you like to see this as it's horror, but it's also a lot of drama and suspense to it. what would you like to see? Are you a fan of like, I know some people like the old newsprint style comic books that you would get in the 70s and the 80s. Would you like to see uh, the thicker, glossier paper, the nicer paper that we have today in the book? What would you think? Would you like something that's perfect bound with a spine, or do you want something that is kind of like a floppy, but a little bit sturdier than the floppy? For people who are Comicsgate, think how Cyberfrog, um, Blood Honey is. Something like a book like that quality. Is that what you would you like that? And then also, you know, give me an idea of what names, what the title of the book could be. I think this would be fun, and then what I'll do is I'll give you credit in the book for coming up with the name, the title. If I pick a title that I like, someone gives me a title that I like, and I'll give you a shout out in the book saying, hey, so and so came up with the title of the book. Um, it's kind of a scary venture, to be honest with you. It's something I'm excited about. I sit there and I go, man, I got these stories. I want to let them out, and I want to share them with people, and I want people to like them enough to buy the books, the book, possible books. If the first book goes well, um, I'm excited about it. But then there's also, there's a lot of anxiety and trepidation that comes with this, because right now I'm paying for everything out of my own pocket. And so I have to move at a certain pace. I have to move at a pace that I can afford. Because, I have a family. I got a roof over, I have to keep a roof over our heads, and food on our table, and clothes on our backs, and things like that, So I don't have a lot of disposable income just to throw out. I wish I did, because the book would be moving a lot faster, and I could work with one group of artists, creative team, like, Jason and Ian, and then I could be over here with another creative team. Okay, here's this story. Go ahead and you get started on it. But I can't do that. This is out of my pockets, and unfortunately my pockets are deep. Excuse me, I got to take a little drink here for a second. Thanks. I'm sorry about that. I'm just not used to talking so much. Which is funny because I tend to ramble on, but on these streams. But yeah, so there's a trepidation because you don't want to, you know, people tell you it's like it takes time. You have to build up a social media presence, and whether it's Twitter or Facebook or your YouTube or Instagram or Tumblr or whatever, you have to build like your following up. And I sit there and I go, man, it's so hard because it's, you know, I'm not about drama. I'm not really about stirring up shit with people, or I'm not one of those people that sit there and go, oh, I like this movie, or I hate this movie, or I hate what they're doing here, I hate what they're doing there, over and over again. I've already expressed in other videos how I feel about the mainstream comic book industry. I'm not a fan of it anymore. I used to be. I mean, I grew up reading, Marvel, DC, Image, Wildstorm Studios, and Extreme were awesome, and Top Cow and Highbrow and all those, and I loved those books. I really did. And I just, over the past 10 years or so, these books have really changed. The creators have really changed. Anybody who's been a fan of books, at least from back in, like, say, even the 90s, you were giving something that was quality, and had a good story and had action. It was what comics are supposed to be, a very vibrant, extreme, visual, product. And now it's not, and I want to bring what I think comics should be to life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my email address, one of my email addresses, and then I will let you, whoever watches this, if you have an idea of what might a good title be, or you might have some ideas of like, hey, have you thought about doing the comic book this way? Let me know. So it's Joseph.Vitzen, Vitzen, at comcast.net. Okay. So if you have any ideas of what a title could be for this book, or, do you have a specific particular format that you like comic books in, you'd like them with a spine, or, kind of like a thin trade paperback, or, do you like the just zazzed out, balls to the wall, kind of floppy kind of comic? Let me know, because I want to move forward with this. And like I said, this is new ground for me. And I have some instructions that somebody was nice enough to give me about how they saw doing crowdfunding. So I don't know. It's like, should I wait like a year or two to actually pull this book together? Because I just don't have a lot of money in reserves, or, should I sit there and go, okay, I got 14 pages done. I got the first story wrapped. I can show off some of that art to entice people, to bring people on board. And should I launch it then? So I'd really appreciate any input that anybody has to give me. It's like I'll read every email that's sent my way. I'm not saying that I'm going to have the time to reply to everybody, but I will try. And I might totally like the ideas that you give me. Maybe I not dislike him, but it won't be a direction that I want to go. But I would really appreciate it. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I know everyone's busy. It's a Monday. There's things that we got to do in the real world. We can't just sit and stare at YouTube all day. But I thank you for your time. I thank you for listening to me and looking at the art I had to share. And I hope you like it. I hope it kind of got you excited. I hope it at least got you interested in the project. And now I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, man, Devilish Tales, that might be a good book, good title. I don't know, but we'll see. But anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in, watching this, whether you watched it live. I don't think anybody watched it live, but if you come and stumble across the video and watch it, I'd greatly appreciate it. And like I said, Joseph.Vitzen at comcast.net. If you have ideas for the title, what you like in comic books, what style, what format do you like in comics? Are you a newsprint person? Are you a glossy page person? Are you a chromium cover person? Are you a person that wants a variety of covers, like maybe one or two variant covers? Let me know, and I'll take your advice to heart. I'll keep the ideas I think are good, and I'll try to give you a reply back and say thanks for your time, and like I'm going to do now. So thanks for your time. Stay safe. Take care of one another, and I'll see you on the next broadcast.